I'm Matthias Niemann from PIRCHE, and today we're showing you our fourth episode of the current webinar season. And in today's episode, we're going to show you the stem cell transplantation search profile module. So in our past video about the stem cell transplantation single patient module webinar, we showed you how you can match multiple donors of, let's say, your stem cell registry against your patient if you do not have a fully matched donor available. And this is not always the case, right? So some labs do not have access to registry data, or sometimes you only get a list of a few donors, and all of them seem to be very bad in terms of PIRCHE matching. So here's where the HSCT search profile comes into play. The SCT search profile allows to select a population, and it will generate virtual donors based on that population. This population then is HLA matched with your patient, and the result is then a list of 9 out of 10 matched donors and the according PIRCHE match. So this allows you basically two things. First is to find good HLA mismatches that are less prone to develop PIRCHE, for example, to guide your search facility. And second is to find the prevalence of your patient in terms of PIRCHE. So for example, you can identify whether this patient has the chance at all to find a well-matched PIRCHE donor or not. Well, now I guess it's time again to jump into my screen. Let's go to our PIRCHE website and log in using our credentials. So today we're checking out the HSCT search profile, which you can find here on the left-hand side. So let's check out what we have here on that input page. First up, you will realize we only have the patient input panel on the top here. And we do not have any donor panel where to enter your donor data, because we assume you do not have access to donor data. So the basic input options here are that you can either manually enter your data by clicking in those single allele fields here. There you also get auto-completion and suggestions for multi-allele codes in case you have any. Besides from that, we have that semi-automated input case where you use the input wizard to paste your typing data, like for example in a CSV or a GL string format, or you can copy your data from a few other registry services. Another option to load data here, pretty automated into the UI, is to push the data directly from your NGS typing software into the PIRCHE application. The first one to implement that was actually Omixon with the HLA Twin software tool suite. Then all the data is immediately in that input form. So for our example now, I will import a PIRCHE file here. You can export those files and later on import these, and I prepared this example earlier so I can show that to you. So we can see now the application loaded all our typing values here, so all the alleles are now filled in. We assume here that we have at least 2 field typing values, but usually for stem cell transplantation you have high resolution typings anyway. An important setting for the search profile is obviously the population from which we draw virtual donors from. And you can select that here on the top of the page. We have here the 4 NMDP haplotype sets from 2007. So let's use the European population here for our patient and press the search profile button. So after a few seconds we get here our search profile result page. So basically what you can see on that page is here on the top of that table our patient typing, and here in the lower half you find all the 9 out of 10 matched donors, and here in these columns on the right hand side you see the PIRCHE-I and PIRCHE-II score and the frequency of the genotype here, how often you will see that in the population you selected. So the frequency values here are per million, so per million donors basically. So for this genotype here, we assume that we find something like 2,677 phenotypes with that given genotype here in that row. Speaking of frequency, you find here on the top right hand side the frequency of your patient genotype in that population. So basically this frequency here gives you an estimate how often you will find a fully matched donor for this patient, or how often this should be represented in your registry. But for the sake of this example here, let's assume this frequency is rather low and we do not find a fully matched donor. So by default, this table down here is sorted descending by the frequency. But now let's check out by sorting by PIRCHE score. And as you can see, we find quite a few donor typings that have a low PIRCHE score. They should be present in the registry database. So if you want to concentrate only on certain loci when you want to search for a particular well-matched donor, then you can also use the filtering options for that table here by clicking on that table header here. So for example, if we want to exclude donors with a C mismatch, we just click on that C, and now we get only the AB, DRB1, DQB1 mismatched genotypes in here, and can concentrate on mismatches on those loci. So now let me elaborate more on those two donut charts. Donuts. The left donut shows the accumulated frequency of the donors with a particular match grade. So first up we have here in green the fully matched unrelated donor with its frequency. Then we have the donors that are 9 out of 10 matched but have a PIRCHE-I and PIRCHE-II score of 0. And in purple we then see the 9 out of 10 matched donors that have a PIRCHE-I that's below 2 but higher than 0, and a PIRCHE-II score of lower than 3 and also higher than 0. And in pink we now see all the donors that have higher PIRCHE scores. So a PIRCHE-I above 1 and a PIRCHE-II above 2. So all the high PIRCHE scores are now grouped into the pink group. So for our example, we said that we cannot find a 10 out of 10 matched donor. And the pink donors we do not like because they have very high PIRCHE scores. So let's check out what's the situation that we get from that. So we see there is now indeed a blue portion, so a very low PIRCHE match portion of donors, actually with a cumulative frequency of 33.5. This means actually in a million donors we would expect that we see something like 33 donors that have a PIRCHE score that's actually 0 for PIRCHE-I and PIRCHE-II. So let's check out the purple portion as well. We see that we have a pretty high accumulated frequency of over 1,800. So this means we should be able to find quite some donors with a PIRCHE score in that purple range here. So now let's check the second donut here on the right hand. This is basically the accumulated frequency according to the mismatch locus. So I mentioned earlier that you can filter the table of donors here. So now let's assume we do not want to go for an A mismatch, but rather want to go for a B or C mismatch. And also we do not want to go for an DR and DQ mismatch. So let's check out how that looks like. So now we see that we have around 10 in a million donors with a mismatch on the B locus. So that looks here like 1/3 of what I'm willing to transplant, and around 21 in a million donors with a C mismatch. So about 2/3 of the donors that I'm looking for in that example. Like in the single patient matching module, you also find the details of a certain match situation. So by clicking on that folder icon here, you unfold the details panel and you find here the tabular view where you find all the mismatching peptides from the mismatch of the patient against the donor. So these are here patient HLA-derived peptides presented on our donor HLA that's matched or shared between our donor and patient. So let's talk about the caveats of the module again. The underlying NMDP haplotype frequencies are only defined on 5 loci, meaning A, B, C, DRB1, DQB1. So your patient should also be defined on these loci and not more, because otherwise strange anomalies could appear. In a future video, we are covering the topic how to upload your own custom populations, and these custom populations can also be used to generate SCT search profiles on. And this allows, for example, to upload a stem cell donor registry database to search with the search profile for PIRCHE matched donors. So that's it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed the session and you learned something. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact us either via the contact form in the application or just write an email to that email address here. And I think see you next time. Bye.